I had just graduated after years of hard work and sacrifice. My family gathered to celebrate, but what should have been my proudest moment turned into my worst nightmare. My sister arrived with her spoiled son, and I watched in horror as he destroyed my graduation cake, the one I had saved for months to afford. But instead of disciplining him, my sister laughed. She actually laughed and said, "Kids will be kids." That was the moment I realized who my family really was. They had always treated me like I was less than, like my accomplishments meant nothing compared to my sister's perfect life, but they didn't know what I had been hiding. They had no idea about the decision I made that very day, a decision that would change everything. What happened next shocked everyone at that graduation party. My sister's face went pale when she discovered the truth. My mother couldn't believe what I revealed. And my nephew? Well, he learned a lesson he would never forget. If you want to know how I finally stood up for myself and cut them out for good, stay until the end. You won't believe what I had been keeping secret all those years. I never imagined my graduation day would end with me cutting my entire family out of my life. But sometimes, one moment of complete disrespect is all it takes to see people for who they really are. Let me tell you how I got here. I was 22 years old when I finally walked across that stage to receive my diploma. It had taken me 5 years instead of 4 because I had to work full-time to pay for school. My parents never offered to help with tuition. They said they had already paid for my sister's education and couldn't afford to do it again. Never mind that my sister had dropped out after 2 years to get married. Never mind that the money they spent on her lavish wedding could have covered my entire degree twice over. But I did it anyway. I worked double shifts at a restaurant, took night classes, studied until 3 in the morning, and survived on instant noodles and coffee. There were nights I cried from exhaustion, mornings I wanted to give up, but I kept going. This degree was mine. I earned every single credit with my own sweat and determination. When I finally held that diploma in my hands, I felt a surge of pride so intense it brought tears to my eyes. I had done it. Against all odds, with no support, I had actually done it. I wanted to celebrate. I wanted just one day where my family would be proud of me, where they would see me as more than the disappointment, more than my sister's less successful sibling. I planned a small gathering at my tiny apartment. Nothing fancy, just some sandwiches, snacks, and a graduation cake. That cake was special to me. I had saved money for 2 months to afford it from the best bakery in town. It was decorated with my school colors, had my graduation year written in elegant frosting, and even had a little fondant cap on top. Every time I looked at it, sitting in my refrigerator that morning, I felt happy, genuinely happy. My mother arrived first, carrying a small gift bag. I hugged her, hoping for warmth, but she felt stiff in my arms. "Congratulations," she said flatly, handing me the bag. Inside was a generic greeting card and a $20 bill. The same card you would give to a distant cousin you barely know. "Thanks, Mom," I said, trying to hide my disappointment. "Where's Dad?" He couldn't make it. Something came up at work. It was Saturday. My father had been retired for 3 years. My sister arrived 20 minutes later with her husband and their 7-year-old son, Tyler. I heard them before I saw them. Tyler was already whining about something, his voice that particular pitch that goes straight through your skull. "Hey, graduate," my sister called out, her voice dripping with that condescending sweetness she always used with me. She looked perfect as always, wearing an expensive dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Her husband, Mark, nodded at me without smiling. Tyler ran past me without even saying hello, already grabbing at the snacks on the table. "Tyler, at least say hi to your aunt," my sister said half-heartedly, scrolling through her phone. "Hi," Tyler mumbled through a mouthful of chips, crumbs falling onto my carpet. I felt my shoulders tense but forced a smile. This was my day. I wasn't going to let anything ruin it. Make yourselves comfortable. There's food and drinks in the kitchen. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, and comment what you would do in this situation. My mother sat on the couch, barely touching the food I had prepared. My sister sprawled in the armchair, still glued to her phone. Mark stood awkwardly by the window. Tyler ran around my small apartment, touching everything, and no one told him to stop. "So, 5 years for a bachelor's degree?" my sister said suddenly, looking up from her phone with a smirk. "Must be some kind of record." My face burned. I was working full-time. I had to pay for it myself. Right, she waved dismissively. "Well, at least you finished. That's something." That's something. As if my years of sacrifice, my sleepless nights, my exhaustion and determination were just something. I swallowed the lump forming in my throat. "I'm very proud of you, honey," my mother said. But her tone was the same one you'd use to praise a child for tying their shoes. Polite, obligatory, empty. I excused myself to the kitchen, blinking back tears. Would you do the same in my place? Would you keep trying to win their approval? Or would you have given up long ago? I pulled out the graduation cake from the refrigerator and stared at it. This beautiful, perfect cake that represented everything I had worked for. I decided to bring it out now. Maybe seeing something tangible that showed my achievement, would make them understand, would make them care. I carried the cake carefully to the living room. "Everyone, I want to show you something special. This is my graduation cake, but I never finished that sentence." Tyler, who had been jumping on my couch despite my sister's half-hearted careful, suddenly leaped off and ran straight toward me. I tried to turn away, to protect the cake, but he was too fast and too reckless. He slammed into me with full force. The cake flew out of my hands, flipped in the air as if in slow motion, and landed face down on my carpet with a sickening splat. For a moment, there was absolute silence. I stared at the destroyed cake, at the smeared frosting and crumbled fondant, at the ruins of something I had saved and planned for months. My heart felt like it had stopped beating. "Oops," Tyler said, and then he laughed. He actually laughed at the mess he had made. But worse than Tyler's reaction was my sister's. She looked at the destroyed cake, looked at my devastated face, and started laughing too. Not a nervous laugh or an embarrassed laugh, but genuine amusement. "Oh my God, Tyler!" She giggled. "You really did it this time!" I felt my face burning with shame. My hands trembled with contained rage. "That cake cost me over $100, I said quietly, my voice shaking. "I saved for 2 months to buy it." My sister waved her hand dismissively, still chuckling. "Oh, come on, don't be so dramatic. He's just a kid. Kids make mistakes. It's not like it was intentional. He wasn't even watching where he was going. You let him jump on the furniture, run around, touch everything." My voice was rising now, all the frustration and hurt spilling out. "Wow, okay, calm down," my sister said, her smile fading into annoyance. "It's just a cake. You're acting like he destroyed something important. Just a cake. My graduation cake. The symbol of 5 years of struggle and sacrifice was just a cake." Leave me in the comments. Have you been through something similar? Are you going to reimburse me? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. $120 for the cake. My sister's eyes widened in mock shock. "Are you serious right now? You want me to pay for an accident?" "Tyler, tell your aunt you're sorry." Her tone made it clear she thought I was being ridiculous. "Sorry," Tyler muttered, not sounding sorry at all. He was already back at the snack table, shoving cookies into his mouth. "There," he apologized. "Can we move on now?" My sister pulled out her phone again, as if the matter was settled. I looked at my mother, waiting for her to say something. Anything. She had watched the whole thing happen. She had seen Tyler destroy my cake and my sister laugh about it. Surely she would defend me, would tell my sister that this wasn't okay. My mother sighed. "Honey, she's right. Tyler didn't mean it. You shouldn't make such a fuss over material things. It's not very mature." Not very mature. I was the immature one. Not Tyler, who destroyed my property. Not my sister, who laughed at my pain. Not my mother, who always took my sister's side. I was the problem for being upset. A cold fury settled over me. In that moment, something inside me broke. Or maybe it didn't break. Maybe it finally became clear. I had spent my entire life trying to earn their respect, their pride, their love, and it would never happen. They would never see me as anything more than less than my sister. "Everyone needs to leave," I said quietly. "What?" My sister looked up from her phone, confused. I said, "Get out. All of you. Leave my apartment right now." My sister laughed again, that same condescending laugh. "Oh, come on, don't be so sensitive. We came all this way for your little graduation party. Get out," I shouted, and this time my voice was loud enough to make everyone freeze. "Get out before I call security." My mother stood up, her face pinched with disapproval. "There's no need to be rude. We're your family." Family? I felt tears welling up in my eyes, but I held them back. Family supports each other. Family shows up. Family cares. You've never been family to me. You've been an obligation, a disappointment, a constant reminder that I'll never be good enough because I'm not her. I pointed at my sister. "This is ridiculous," my sister said, grabbing her purse. "You're throwing a tantrum over a stupid cake. Very mature. Very adult." You know what? You're right. This isn't about the cake. This is about every time you've treated me like I don't matter. Every time Mom took your side. Every time Dad couldn't be bothered to show up for anything important to me. Every time you made me feel small and worthless. The cake was just the final straw. My hands trembled with contained rage. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. But I felt powerful too, like I was finally standing up for myself after years of being walked over. "Give it a thumbs up if you think I did the right thing." "If that's how you feel," my mother said coldly, "then perhaps it's best if we do leave. When you're ready to apologize for this behavior, you know where to find us. Apologize." She wanted me to apologize. "Get out," I repeated, my voice steady now. "And don't come back. Ever." My sister rolled her eyes. "Fine. Come on, Tyler Mark, let's go. Your aunt is having a breakdown." They filed out of my apartment, my mother shaking her head, my sister texting on her phone, Mark silent as always, Tyler complaining about leaving before he could have more snacks. The door closed behind them, and I was alone with the destroyed cake on my floor and the ruins of my graduation celebration. I sank to the floor next to the cake and finally let myself cry. Great heaving sobs that I had been holding back for hours, maybe years. I cried for the little girl who never felt good enough. I cried for the teenager who worked 2 jobs while her sister got everything handed to her. I cried for the young woman who sacrificed everything for a degree her family didn't even care about. But as I cried, something else happened. I felt lighter. For the first time in my life, I had stood up for myself. I had set a boundary and enforced it. I had chosen my own dignity over their approval. I cleaned up the cake, packed away the untouched food, and sat in my quiet apartment. My phone buzzed with messages. First from my mother, "You owe your sister and me an apology. This behavior is unacceptable." Then from my sister, "Wow, way to ruin your own graduation party. Don't expect us to come to anything else of yours." I blocked both numbers. Then I blocked my father's number too, even though he hadn't bothered to text me at all. The next morning, I woke up expecting to feel regret. Instead, I felt peaceful, free. I made coffee, ate breakfast, and looked at my diploma hanging on the wall. This was my achievement, mine alone, and that was enough. But this story doesn't end there. What happened next changed everything in ways I never could have predicted. 3 weeks after my graduation party disaster, I received a certified letter in the mail. It was from an attorney's office I didn't recognize. My hands shook as I opened it, worried it might be some kind of legal threat from my family. Instead, it was notification about my grandmother's estate. My grandmother, my father's mother, had passed away 6 months earlier. I had attended her funeral, but it had been brief and awkward. My family barely spoke to me there, and I left as soon as it was respectful to do so. My grandmother and I had been close when I was younger, but as I got older, and my family's favoritism toward my sister became more obvious, I saw her less and less. She had always lived several states away, and visits became rare. The letter stated that her estate had finally been settled, and I was named as a beneficiary. I needed to attend a reading of the will at the attorney's office. Comment below what you would have done differently. I almost didn't go. I assumed I had been left some small trinket, maybe a piece of jewelry, or a few $100s. My sister had always been my grandmother's favorite tour, so I thought, but curiosity won out and I made the appointment. The attorney's office was downtown in one of those old buildings with marble floors and dark wood paneling. I arrived 15 minutes early and sat in the waiting room, my stomach churning with anxiety. Then my family walked in. All of them. My mother, my father, my sister, even Mark. They stopped dead when they saw me sitting there. "What are you doing here?" my sister asked, her voice sharp with surprise. "I was invited," I said simply, keeping my voice neutral. "I'm a beneficiary." My mother and father exchanged glances. My sister looked annoyed. "Grandmother left you something?" "That's unexpected." We sat in awkward silence until the attorney, a woman in her 60s with kind eyes and gray hair pulled back in a bun, called us into her office. We arranged ourselves in chairs facing her desk, my family on one side, me sitting slightly apart. "Thank you all for coming," the attorney said, putting on her reading glasses. "I know this has been a difficult time. Your grandmother was a remarkable woman, and she was very specific about her wishes for her estate." She opened a folder and began reading. My grandmother's estate was substantial, much more than I had realized. She owned her home, had investments, and had savings that totaled nearly $400,000. My sister sat forward in her chair, her eyes gleaming. I could practically see her calculating what she would do with her share. The attorney continued. "The house and all its contents are to be sold, with the proceeds going to..." She paused and looked directly at me, her granddaughter, the graduate. "Wait, what?" "I'm sorry, what?" my mother said, her voice sharp. "Did you say the graduate?" "Yes, your mother was very specific. She left the bulk of her estate to whichever grandchild completed a university degree. She established this provision in her will 10 years ago." My sister's face went pale. "But I was in college. I went to college." "Your grandmother's will specifies completed degree," the attorney said gently. She was very clear about this. She believed education was the greatest gift she could encourage, and she wanted to reward the grandchild who saw it through to the end. The room was spinning. I could barely breathe through my shock and sudden, overwhelming emotion. "This is ridiculous," my father said, his face red. "Tyler is her great-grandson. Surely some of this should be set aside for him." "Your mother considered that," the attorney interrupted. "She left a small trust for Tyler's education, to be accessed only if he attends and completes college. $5,000. The rest goes to..." She looked at me again. "To you. The house sale, the investments, the savings, everything. It totals approximately $385,000 after taxes and fees." I felt the floor opening beneath my feet. Nearly $400,000. Enough to pay off my student loans. Enough for a down payment on a house. Enough to change my entire life. "There must be some mistake," my mother said desperately. My mother wouldn't do this. She wouldn't leave everything to... She couldn't even finish the sentence. "There's no mistake," the attorney said firmly. "I met with your mother many times over the years to ensure her will reflected her wishes. She was very proud of her granddaughter's determination to complete her education despite difficult circumstances. She told me more than once that she wanted to reward perseverance and achievement, not entitlement." Subscribe and hit the bell icon for more stories like this. My sister stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "This is insane. Grandmother always liked me better. We had a relationship, she barely even saw her." She pointed at me like I was something distasteful. "Your grandmother saw more than you realized," the attorney said calmly. "She was quite disappointed when you dropped out of college. She mentioned it to me several times. She had hoped you would return to finish your degree, but you never did. I got married. I started a family. Those are important too." My sister's voice was rising, becoming shrill. "Your grandmother didn't dispute that. But her estate was hers to distribute as she wished, and she wished to give it to the grandchild who valued education enough to sacrifice for it." I finally found my voice. though it came out shaky and small. She knew? She knew about the 5 years? About me working through school? The attorney smiled at me, warmth in her eyes. She knew everything. You sent her a graduation announcement, didn't you? I had. I had sent announcements to everyone in the family, though I hadn't expected anyone who lived far away to attend. I had sent one to my grandmother with a note about finally finishing, about how hard I had worked. I hadn't expected a response. She was already very ill by then. She received it 2 weeks before she passed, the attorney continued. She called me immediately and asked me to come to her bedside. She wanted to make absolutely certain her will was in order, that there were no loopholes, no way for anyone to contest her wishes. She was very proud of you. She told me you had her stubborn streak, her determination. She said you reminded her of herself. Tears welled up in my eyes. My grandmother had been proud of me. She had seen my struggle, my sacrifice, and she had valued it. Someone in my family had actually been proud of me. This isn't fair, my mother said, but her voice had lost its conviction. We're her children. We should have received. She left you the china cabinet and the grandfather clock, the attorney said, items of sentimental value that she hoped you would cherish. But the monetary estate goes to her granddaughter. My father stood up, pulling my mother with him. Let's go. There's nothing more to discuss here. His voice was tight with barely controlled anger. My sister was staring at me with pure hatred in her eyes. You probably manipulated her somehow. Played the victim, made her feel sorry for you. That's enough, the attorney said sharply. I won't have you making baseless accusations in my office. Your grandmother made her choices with a clear mind and sound judgment. If you wish to contest the will, you're welcome to try, but I assure you it's ironclad. We made certain of that. My sister grabbed her purse and stormed toward the door. Come on, Mark, we're leaving. I'm not gonna sit here and watch her gloat, but I wasn't gloating. I was crying. Silent tears streaming down my face as the weight of everything, the years of being overlooked, the constant comparison, the destroyed cake, and now this unexpected vindication crashed over me all at once. My family filed out without another word to me. Not congratulations, not even a simple goodbye. The door closed behind them, and it was just me and the attorney in her quiet office. She handed me a box of tissues. Are you all right? I nodded, wiping my eyes. I think so. I can't believe this. Your grandmother wanted you to have something else, the attorney said, pulling out an envelope from her folder. She wrote you a letter. She asked me to give it to you after the will was read. My hands shook as I took the envelope. It was addressed to me in my grandmother's distinctive handwriting, slightly shaky, but still elegant. I opened it carefully and began to read. My dearest girl, if you're reading this, then I'm gone, and you've just learned about my will. I imagine your family is not pleased, but you must understand something. I didn't leave you my estate to punish them. I left it to you because you earned it, not through my death, but through your life. I've watched you struggle and sacrifice while your sister took everything for granted. I saw you work yourself to exhaustion while your parents gave her a free ride, and I admired you. You have strength that comes from facing challenges, not from avoiding them. You remind me of myself at your age, stubborn, determined, and unwilling to quit even when quitting would be easier. I paid for your sister's college because your parents asked me to. They never asked me to help you, and when I offered, they said you were fine, that you wanted to be independent. I suspected that wasn't entirely true, but I respected your privacy and didn't push. Instead, I decided to help you in a different way. This money represents a lifetime of my own hard work and sacrifice. I wanted to give you opportunities, to ease your burden, to reward your perseverance. Buy a home, travel, pursue your dreams, live well. And please, remember that someone in this family saw your worth, valued your efforts, and was proud of you. You were always enough, my dear. More than enough. You were remarkable. With all my love, grandmother, I couldn't stop crying. Great heaving sobs that shook my whole body. The attorney quietly left her office to give me privacy, and I sat there clutching my grandmother's letter, feeling seen and valued in a way I had never experienced from my family before. How would you act in this situation? When I finally composed myself and left the attorney's office, I felt different. Not just because of the money, though that certainly helped, but because I had proof that I wasn't crazy. I wasn't too sensitive or too dramatic. My family really had treated me unfairly, and someone else had noticed. Someone else had seen their favoritism and had chosen to correct the balance. My phone buzzed constantly over the next few days. Messages from my mother, my sister, even my father, who normally never texted. All of them wanted to talk, wanted to work things out, wanted to heal the family rift. I didn't respond to any of them. Then the messages turned angry. My sister sent a long text about how selfish I was, how I should share the inheritance with Tyler because he was just a child and deserved a future too. My mother sent multiple messages about how disappointed my grandmother would be to see me keeping the entire estate instead of splitting it with the family. My father, in his only message, simply said, "Your grandmother would want you to do the right thing, as if accepting years of disrespect and inequality was the right thing, as if letting them treat me as less than was the right thing. As if destroying my graduation cake and laughing about it was forgivable, because we're family." I blocked their numbers. Again, this time for good. I used the inheritance to pay off my student loans completely. $40,000 gone in an instant, and the relief was indescribable. No more monthly payments, no more interest accruing, no more debt hanging over my head. I was free. I put a down payment on a small condo in a neighborhood I loved. Nothing extravagant, just a 2-bedroom place with hardwood floors and big windows that let in morning light. It was mine, truly mine. I invested the rest carefully, following advice from a financial advisor. I wanted this money to last, to give me security and opportunities for years to come. I also bought myself a new graduation cake from that same bakery. This time, I celebrated alone in my new condo with a glass of wine and my diploma hanging proudly on the wall. It was the celebration I should have had the first time, peaceful, joyful, mine. 3 months after the will reading, my sister showed up at my new condo. I don't know how she found my address, probably through some mutual acquaintance or public records search. I opened the door to find her standing there, looking tired and less polished than usual. "We need to talk," she said without any greeting. "No, we don't." I started to close the door, but she put her hand against it. "Please, just 5 minutes." Against my better judgment, I let her in. We stood in my living room and I didn't offer her a seat. "This place is nice," she said, looking around with something that might have been envy. "Inheritance money bought it, I assume." "My inheritance? Yes. What do you want?" She sighed, and for a moment she looked almost vulnerable. "Look, I know things have been difficult, but we're family. Grandmother's money has caused a rift that doesn't need to exist." "The money didn't cause the rift," I said quietly. "Your behavior at my graduation party caused the rift." "Actually, no. Years of you treating me like I'm less than caused the rift. The money just made it impossible to ignore. Do you think I overreacted?" "I didn't realize you were so upset about the cake," she said, and she had the audacity to sound annoyed. "It was an accident. Tyler destroying the cake was an accident. You laughing about it was a choice. You dismissing my feelings was a choice. You refusing to take responsibility was a choice. Kids make mistakes, and parents correct them. They don't laugh. They don't make excuses. They teach consequences and respect. You did none of those things." My sister's jaw tightened. "So you're going to hold a grudge forever over a cake? This isn't about the cake." My voice rose despite my intention to stay calm. "This is about every single time you've been given everything while I've had to fight for scraps. This is about mom and dad paying for your college and your wedding while I worked myself half to death. This is about you dropping out and wasting their investment while I sacrificed 5 years to finish. This is about you treating me like an inconvenience while expecting me to be grateful for your presence." The cake was just the moment I finally saw clearly. She was quiet for a moment. Then, "Mom said you should share the inheritance." It's what grandmother would have wanted, and there it was. The real reason for her visit. Grandmother literally wrote in her will that the money should go to the grandchild who completed their degree. She could have split it. She could have left you something substantial. She chose not to. That was her choice, made with a clear mind, specifically because she saw how our family treated me. She was old and sick. She probably wasn't thinking clearly, the attorney confirmed. She made these decisions years ago and updated them multiple times. She knew exactly what she was doing. She was disappointed in you for dropping out. She told her lawyer that directly. My sister's face flushed red. How dare you? I didn't say it. Grandmother did. I'm just telling you what the attorney told me. You're different now, my sister said, her voice turning cold. The money changed you. You've become selfish and cruel. I felt a cold fury settled over me. No, the money didn't change me. The money just gave me the freedom to stop accepting your treatment. I don't need your approval anymore. I don't need Mum's favor or Dad's attention. I have my own life, my own home, my own future, and none of it depends on you. So that's it? You're just cutting us all off? You made it clear at my graduation party that I don't matter to you. You laughed at my pain. You dismissed my feelings. You've spent years making me feel worthless. Why would I want people like that in my life? Because we're family, she said desperately. That has to mean something. It should mean something, I agreed. It should mean love and support and respect, but it doesn't. Not with you. So yes, I'm cutting you off. I'm choosing myself for once. My sister stared at me for a long moment, and I could see her cycling through emotions, anger, disbelief, maybe even a hint of regret. But then her face hardened into that familiar expression of superiority I knew so well. You'll regret this, she said coldly. When you're alone and you realize that money can't replace family, you'll regret pushing us away. I'm not pushing you away, I said calmly. You were never really here to begin with. She left without another word, slamming the door behind her, and I stood in my quiet, sunlit condo, feeling nothing but relief. Comment if you know someone like this. That was a year ago. I haven't spoken to any of them since. My life now is peaceful in a way it never was before. I work a job I love, made possible because I'm not drowning in debt. I have friends who actually value me, who show up for important moments, who would never laugh if something meaningful to me was destroyed. I travel occasionally, something I could never afford before. I'm even dating someone kind and supportive, someone who thinks my 5-year degree is impressive rather than embarrassing. Sometimes I wonder if I made the right choice. Then I remember my sister's laugh as my cake lay destroyed on the floor. I remember my mother telling me not to make a fuss. I remember my father not even bothering to show up. And I know I made the only choice I could live with. My family occasionally tries to reach out through other relatives. My aunt called once to tell me that my mother missed me, that I should forgive and forget. I politely told her I had moved on and asked her not to bring it up again. A cousin sent me a Facebook message saying, "Family is forever," and I was being stubborn. I unfriended her. The truth is, I don't miss them. I thought I would. I thought cutting them off would leave this gaping hole in my life, this constant ache for belonging. But instead, I feel lighter, free, like I've been carrying a heavy weight for years and finally put it down. I framed my grandmother's letter and hung it next to my diploma. On hard days, I read it and remember that I was enough for her. I was remarkable to her. And if I could be remarkable to her, then maybe I really am. Was I wrong to feel this way? I think about Tyler sometimes. He's 8 now, still being raised by parents who don't teach him consequences, who laugh at his destructive behavior instead of correcting it. I wonder what kind of person he'll become. I hope somehow he turns out better than his parents, but I doubt it. My parents are getting older. My mother is 63, my father's 65. I know that someday they'll need help, maybe even care. And I know my family expects that when that day comes, I'll step up. After all, I have the money now. I have the resources. Surely I'll do the right thing. But I won't. That might sound cruel, But I've learned that you can't set yourself on fire to keep people warm who would never do the same for you. They had decades to build a relationship with me. They chose favoritism instead. They chose dismissal instead. They made their choices, and now they have to live with the consequences. My sister will have to help them. She's always been the favored child, always been the one they invested in emotionally and financially. Let her repay that investment. Let her be the one who sacrifices. I have my own life to live now, my own dreams to pursue, my own peace to protect. People sometimes ask me if I'm bitter. I don't think I am. Bitter suggests I'm still stuck in that place of hurt and resentment, but I've moved past it. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just done. I graduated despite them, not because of them. I built a life despite them, not because of them. And I found my worth despite them, not because of them. My grandmother saw something in me that my own parents couldn't see. She saw perseverance and strength and determination. She saw someone worth investing in. And in her final act of love, she gave me both the resources and the validation I had needed my entire life. The day I decided to cut them out wasn't really about the cake. The cake was just the catalyst, the moment of clarity. It was about recognizing that some relationships are toxic no matter how much DNA you share. It was about understanding that family is supposed to build you up, not tear you down. It was about choosing my own mental health and happiness over their comfort and expectations. I don't regret standing up for myself at my graduation party. I don't regret blocking their numbers. I don't regret accepting my inheritance without sharing it. I don't regret any of it. Because for the first time in my life, I'm living on my own terms. I'm making choices that serve me, not them. I'm building a future based on what I want, not what they think I should want. And you know what? I'm happy. Genuinely, peacefully happy. They took so much from me over the years. My confidence, my sense of worth, my belief that I deserved good things. But they couldn't take everything. They couldn't take my determination. They couldn't take my resilience. They couldn't take my ability to recognize my own value. My grandmother gave me more than money. She gave me proof that I was enter novamentic and shirt something, as she gave me validation when I needed it most. She gave me the freedom to choose myself. So, yes, I cut them out. And I would do it again without hesitation. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, and comment what you would do in this situation. The most surprising thing about cutting off my family wasn't the relief or the peace. It was discovering who I actually was without their constant judgment weighing me down. For years, I had defined myself in relation to them. I was the disappointing daughter, the less successful sister, the one who had to work harder for less recognition. Removing them from my life meant removing those definitions too. I started therapy about 6 months after the will reading. My therapist, a warm woman in her 50s named Dr. Chun, helped me understand that what I had experienced wasn't just ordinary family conflict. It was years of systematic emotional neglect and favoritism that had shaped my entire sense of self-worth. You weren't competing with your sister, Dr. Chun told me during one session. You were competing with an impossible standard. No matter what you achieved, it would never be enough because the game was rigged from the start. Your parents had already decided who the golden child would be. That realization was both painful and liberating. Painful because it meant acknowledging that I had wasted years trying to win a game I could never win. Liberating because it meant I could stop playing. I also learned about something called scapegoating in family systems. Apparently, in dysfunctional families, one child often gets blamed for problems while another can do no wrong. I had been the scapegoat. Anything that went wrong was somehow my fault, my problem, my responsibility to fix. Meanwhile, my sister glided through life with every mistake excused and every whim indulged. Understanding the psychology behind my family's behavior didn't make it hurt less, but it did make it make sense. and making sense of it helped me stop blaming myself. During one particularly difficult therapy session, Dr. Chun asked me about my happiest childhood memory. I sat there for nearly 5 minutes, unable to think of a single moment involving my family that was purely happy, untainted by some subtle dig or comparison or disappointment. Finally, I remembered, my grandmother took me to a museum when I was 10. Just me, not my sister. We looked at paintings for hours, and she told me stories about the artists. She bought me a book about art history in the gift shop. She said I had an intelligent way of looking at things, that I saw details other people missed. That sounds lovely, Dr. Chun said gently. What happened to that book? I felt a lump tightening in my throat. My sister drew in it, scribbled all over the pages with marker. My mom told me I should have put it somewhere safe, that I knew how my sister was. She made me apologize to my sister for being upset because I had made her feel bad. You had to apologize to your sister for being upset that she destroyed your property? When she said it like that, when I heard it reflected back to me, the absurdity was crystal clear. Yes, and the graduation cake incident, does it remind you of anything? The parallel hit me like a physical blow. Tyler destroying my cake and my sister laughing wasn't just a one-time incident. It was a repeat of a pattern that had existed my entire life. My things could be destroyed, my feelings could be dismissed, and somehow I was always the one who needed to apologize, to be more understanding, to stop making such a fuss. The cake wasn't just a cake. It was every destroyed possession, every dismissed feeling, every time I was told I was being too sensitive or too dramatic. It was a lifetime of being told that what mattered to me didn't really matter at all. Leave me in the comments. Have you been through something similar? One thing I didn't expect about cutting off my family was how other people would react. When the subject came up with acquaintances or distant friends, I usually kept it vague. We're not in contact anymore. But occasionally someone would press for details, and their reactions were revealing. Some people were immediately supportive. They had their own stories of toxic family members, their own experiences of finally setting boundaries. These people understood viscerally why I had made my choice, but others couldn't accept it. But they're your family, they would say, as if DNA trumped everything else. You only get one mother, they would remind me, as if that fact alone obligated me to endless tolerance. Surely you can forgive them, they would suggest, as if forgiveness meant allowing continued harm. I learned to identify these people quickly and to shut down the conversation. It's complicated and personal, and I'm comfortable with my decision became my standard response. Most people respected that boundary. Those who didn't weren't people I needed in my life anyway. My current partner, James, has been incredibly supportive. We met about 8 months after I cut contact with my family at a community volunteering event. He knew from early on that I didn't have family relationships, and he never pressured me to explain beyond what I was comfortable sharing. When I finally told him the full story, the years of favoritism, the graduation party, the inheritance, all of it, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "That took incredible strength. Cutting off family is one of the hardest things a person can do. The fact that you did it means you value yourself enough to refuse mistreatment." "That's admirable," I almost cried. He got it. He understood that this wasn't about being vindictive or holding grudges. It was about self-preservation. It was about recognizing that some relationships cause more harm than good, regardless of what they're called. James comes from a large, boisterous family that actually likes each other. They call regularly, celebrate holidays together, show up for important events. Meeting them was surreal for me. I kept waiting for the subtle digs, the comparisons, the dismissive comments. They never came. His mother hugged me when we first met and said, "James has told us so much about you. We're so glad you're here." And she meant it. I could tell. His sister, who's close to my age, invited me to her book club. She texted me funny memes. She asked my opinion on things and actually listened to my answers. This, I realized, was what sisterhood was supposed to look like. Being around James's family was healing in ways I didn't expect. It showed me that healthy family dynamics actually existed, that not every family operated with favoritism and conditional love. It also made me grieve a little for what I had never had and now never would, but I didn't regret my choice. Not even when I saw what I was missing. Because I had tried for 22 years to make my family see me, value me, treat me with basic respect. They had countless opportunities to change. They chose not to. That wasn't my failure. It was theirs. Subscribe and hit the bell icon for more stories like this. About 10 months after cutting contact, I ran into my mother at a grocery store. I saw her before she saw me, and for a moment I considered leaving, going to a different store. But then something stubborn in me refused. This was my neighborhood, my store, my life. I wasn't going to hide. She turned with her shopping cart and nearly ran into me. We both froze. "Oh," she said, and a complicated series of emotions crossed her face. "Hello. Hi, Mom." We stood there awkwardly, blocking the aisle. Another shopper had to maneuver around us. "You look well," she said finally. How have you been?" "I'm good. Really good, actually. How are you?" "Fine. We're fine." She paused, clearly struggling with something. "Your father and I, we'd like to talk to you, if you're willing." "About what?" "About everything. About fixing our family." I felt my shoulders tense but kept my voice calm. "Mom, there's nothing to fix. I'm not angry anymore, I'm just done. But we're your parents. Doesn't that mean anything?" "It should. But you both showed me repeatedly what it actually means to you. I was never going to be enough. I was never going to be her. I didn't need to specify who her was." My mother's face tightened. "That's not true. We love you both equally." "No, you don't. And honestly, I don't need you to anymore. I have a good life. I'm happy. I'm successful. And none of it has anything to do with you. That money, grandmother's money, that she left to me specifically, that she didn't want you or anyone else to have." My mother flinched. She was always difficult. She never understood. She understood perfectly. She saw exactly what you all were doing to me. She just chose to help me in a way you couldn't interfere with. "Your sister is struggling," my mother said suddenly, changing tactics. "Tyler is having problems at school. They could use—" "No." I cut her off firmly. "Whatever they need, I'm not the solution. You all made it very clear that I'm not part of your family, so my resources aren't part of your family either. How can you be so cold?" Her voice broke slightly, and I almost felt guilty. Almost. "I'm not cold, I'm protected. There's a difference." A store employee approached, clearly uncomfortable with the scene we were creating. "Is everything all right here?" "Yes," I said quickly. "I was just leaving." I looked at my mother one last time. "I hope you're well. Genuinely. But I can't be in your life anymore. Please respect that." I walked away, leaving my cart behind, my heart pounding. I sat in my car for 10 minutes, waiting for the guilt or sadness to overwhelm me. But it didn't come. Instead, I felt proud. I had held my boundary. I hadn't been cruel, but I hadn't wavered either. That was the last time I saw any of them in person. Give it a thumbs up if you think I did the right thing. My career flourished in ways I never expected. Without the constant stress and emotional drain of my family relationships, I had energy to invest in my professional growth. I took on challenging projects, pursued certifications, networked with confidence. Within a year of cutting contact, I received a significant promotion. The day I got the promotion, I almost called my mother to tell her. Almost. Then I remembered that when I had called to tell her about graduating, she had said, "That's nice, dear," and then spent 20 minutes talking about my sister's latest redecorating project. Instead, I called James. He picked me up from work with flowers and champagne. We celebrated at my favorite restaurant, and he toasted to my success with genuine pride in his eyes. That night, I realized that celebration doesn't require family. It requires people who actually care. I also started volunteering as a mentor for first-generation college students. I worked with young women who were working their way through school, who didn't have family support, who felt alone in their struggles. I told them my story, not all of it, but the parts that mattered. working full-time through college, taking 5 years to graduate, feeling like it was never going to end but pushing through anyway. Did your family come to your graduation? One student asked me. They did, I said carefully, but the people who mattered most to me weren't there. And I learned that physical presence doesn't mean emotional support. She nodded, understanding in her eyes. My parents think college is a waste of time. They wanted me to get married instead. And what do you want? I want my degree. I want a career. I want to prove I can do this. Then do it. Not to prove anything to them, but to prove it to yourself. You are worth the investment. You are worth the struggle. And someday, you'll look back and be so proud of what you survived. Her eyes filled with tears. Do you ever regret it? Working so hard for something your family didn't even value? Never. Not for a single second. Because I did it for me. And that makes it even more meaningful. These mentoring sessions healed something in me. Every young woman I helped felt like I was reaching back to my younger self, telling her that she wasn't alone, that her struggle mattered, that she was going to make it. Comment below what you would have done differently. I think about the graduation cake sometimes. Not with pain anymore, but with something like bemused distance, as if it happened to someone else. I think about how that single moment crystallized years of dynamics into one clear picture. I think about how sometimes it takes something small or something that seems small to others to finally break through your tolerance for mistreatment. People who haven't experienced ongoing family dysfunction often don't understand this. They hear she cut off her family over a cake and think it's dramatic or petty. They don't understand that the cake was just the final straw in a lifetime of being devalued. It's like those stories of people who divorce over something seemingly minor like toothpaste caps or how dishes are loaded. It's never really about the toothpaste. It's about years of not being heard, not being respected, not being considered. The toothpaste cap is just the thing that makes you finally see clearly. My graduation cake was my toothpaste cap, and I'm grateful for it in a strange way. Without that moment of clarity, I might have spent decades more trying to earn love from people who were never going to give it. I heard through the grapevine a distant cousin who doesn't respect boundaries that my sister eventually had to get a job. Apparently, Mark's income wasn't stretching far enough to maintain their lifestyle, especially once Tyler started private school. The cousins said this as if I would feel vindicated or smug. I didn't. I felt nothing. My sister's financial struggles weren't my concern. Not because I was cruel, but because she simply wasn't part of my life anymore. I didn't wish her ill, but I also didn't wish her well. She was a stranger who happened to share my DNA. The same cousin mentioned that my mother complains about me at family gatherings, portraying herself as the victim of an ungrateful daughter. After everything we did for her, my mother apparently says, she cut us off over nothing. Over nothing. Years of favoritism and dismissal and emotional neglect was nothing. A destroyed graduation cake and a sister's laughter was nothing. The message was clear even from a distance. They learned nothing. They took no responsibility. In their narrative, I was simply ungrateful and oversensitive. That confirmed that I had made the right choice. People who can't acknowledge harm can't change their behavior. And I didn't need them to change anymore. I just needed them to stay away. How would you act in this situation? 2 years after cutting contact, I bought a second property, a small lake house a few hours from the city, a place to retreat on weekends and holidays. I furnished it exactly how I wanted. No compromises, no consideration of anyone else's taste. It became my sanctuary. The first Thanksgiving in the lake house, James and I invited a group of friends who also didn't have family nearby, or who, like me, had chosen distance from toxic relatives. We cooked together, laughed, played games, watched movies. There was no tension, no walking on eggshells, no dreading dinner conversation. Someone proposed a toast to chosen family, the people who choose us and who we choose back. We all raised our glasses, and I felt a warmth spread through my chest that had nothing to do with the wine. This was what family was supposed to feel like: safe, joyful, easy, not exhausting or painful or conditional. That night, lying in bed with moonlight reflecting off the lake outside the window, James asked me, "Do you ever wish things had been different with your family?" I thought about it carefully. I wish they had been different people, but they weren't, and they weren't going to change. So no, I don't regret how things turned out. This life, the one I built without them, is better than anything I could have had trying to fit into theirs. What would you tell someone who's considering cutting off their family? I'd tell them that it's okay to choose peace over obligation, that DNA doesn't entitle anyone to treat you badly, that it's possible to grieve for the family you wanted while accepting the reality of the family you had, and that life on the other side of that decision can be beautiful. He kissed my forehead. "You're stronger than you give yourself credit for." I'm not strong. I'm just done accepting less than I deserve. But maybe that's the same thing. Do you think I overreacted? I learned that healing isn't linear. Some days, I felt completely at peace with my decision. Other days, usually around holidays or my birthday, I felt a twinge of sadness for what I never had. But sadness isn't the same as regret. I could mourn the absence of a healthy family without wishing to return to a toxic one. Therapy helped enormously with this. Dr. Chun taught me to separate grief from regret, to acknowledge that I could feel sad about losing my family while simultaneously knowing it was the right choice. "You're not grieving the family you had," she explained. "You're grieving the family you deserved and never got." That's a valid grief. She was right. I was grieving the mother who should have defended me, the father who should have shown up, the sister who should have been my ally. I was grieving the childhood I should have had, the support I should have received, the love that should have been unconditional. But grieving those things didn't mean I needed to maintain contact with the people who failed to provide them. I could mourn and move forward simultaneously. I also learned to reframe my narrative. I wasn't the daughter who cut off her family. I was the woman who valued herself enough to demand better treatment. I wasn't ungrateful or cold-hearted. I was self-protective and strong. The words we use to describe ourselves matter. For too long, I had used my family's words: sensitive, dramatic, difficult, ungrateful. Now I used my own: resilient, successful, independent, worthy. 3 years after the graduation party, I received an unexpected letter. Not from my family, but from my grandmother's attorney. She was checking in, she said, to see how I was doing. She mentioned that she had handled many estates over her career, but my grandmother's had stayed with her. "Your grandmother spoke so highly of you," she wrote. "She was confident that you would use her gift wisely, not just financially, but emotionally. She hoped it would give you the freedom to live authentically without bowing to family pressure. I hope that's proven true." I wrote back, thanking her for everything she had done. I told her that yes, my grandmother's gift had changed my life, but not just because of the money. It had validated me at a time when I desperately needed validation. It had shown me that someone in my family saw my worth. It had given me the courage to demand better treatment. "I think my grandmother would be proud of who I've become," I wrote. Not just despite my family, but because I was strong enough to choose myself over their approval. That's a lesson I'll carry forever. Comment if you know someone like this. I also learned that closure doesn't always come from confrontation or reconciliation. Sometimes, closure comes from simply moving forward, from building a life so full and satisfying that the past loses its power over you. I didn't need my family to apologize or acknowledge what they had done. I didn't need them to suddenly realize I was worth their respect. I didn't need anything from them anymore, and that realization was its own form of closure. The graduation cake, which in some ways had become symbolic of everything wrong in my family relationships, was replaced by other celebrations, better celebrations. I celebrated work promotions with friends who genuinely cheered for me. I celebrated my birthday with James, who planned thoughtful surprises and made me feel valued. I celebrated holidays with chosen family, people who showed up because they wanted to, not because they felt obligated. And you know what? Those celebrations were sweeter. They were authentic. They were full of people who actually cared. One day, about 4 years after cutting contact, I realized I had gone an entire week without thinking about my family at all. Not with anger or sadness or anything else. They simply hadn't crossed my mind. My life was so full of positive relationships and experiences that they no longer occupied space in my daily thoughts. That's when I knew I had truly moved on. They were my past, but they weren't my present or my future. They were just people I used to know, people who happened to be related to me but who weren't part of my actual life. Was I wrong to feel this way? If I could go back and talk to myself on that graduation day, standing in my tiny apartment with a destroyed cake at my feet and tears streaming down my face, I would tell her this. This moment hurts. It hurts more than you ever thought possible because you're finally seeing clearly. But this moment is also a gift. It's the moment you stop trying to be enough for people who were never going to see your value. It's the moment you start choosing yourself. The path ahead won't be easy. You'll doubt yourself. You'll feel guilty. You'll wonder if you're making a mistake. But stay strong. Hold your boundaries. Trust that you deserve better than what they're offering. And know this, 5 years from now, you'll be happy. Genuinely, peacefully happy. You'll have built a life filled with people who actually care about you, who celebrate your successes, who would never laugh at your pain. You'll have the career you dreamed of, the home you always wanted, the relationship you deserve. Your grandmother's gift will change everything, but not in the way you expect. It won't just give you financial security. It'll give you validation and courage and freedom. It'll prove that someone in your family saw you, really saw you, and valued what they saw. So stand up, clean up this cake, block their numbers, choose yourself. Your future self is waiting, and she's so proud of you. That's what I would tell her. And I think she would listen. Leave me in the comments. Have you been through something similar? Today, I'm 32 years old. 10 years have passed since that graduation day. 8 years since I cut off my family. My life is unrecognizable from what it was then. I'm a senior manager at my company, respected by my colleagues and beloved by my team. I make decisions that affect people's careers, and I use that power responsibly, remembering what it felt like to be underestimated and overlooked. James and I got married 3 years ago in a small ceremony at the lake house, surrounded by chosen family. His parents welcomed me as a daughter, not as a replacement for the family I lost, but as an addition to the one they built. I cried during my vows, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming realization that I was choosing and being chosen by someone who truly valued me. We're talking about having children soon. Sometimes I worry that I won't know how to be a good mother because I didn't have a good model. But then I remember, I know exactly what not to do. I know how favoritism destroys. I know how dismissal wounds. I know how important it is to show up, to listen, to value each child for who they are rather than who you want them to be. I'll be a good mother because I know what it feels like to have a bad one. And I'll make sure my children never feel what I felt. The money from my grandmother's estate has been invested wisely. It's grown. I've been able to help friends in need, donate to causes I believe in, and most recently, establish a scholarship fund for first-generation college students working their way through school. The scholarship is named after my grandmother, and every year I get to hand out awards to students who remind me of myself determined, resilient, unsupported by family, but refusing to quit. At the last scholarship ceremony, a young woman thanked me through tears. "No one believed I could do this," she said. "But you did, you believed in me. I believe in you because I was you," I told her, and I made it. So will you. That moment felt like coming full circle. My grandmother invested in me, and now I was investing in others. Her gift kept giving, kept creating opportunities, kept changing lives. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, and comment what you would do in this situation. I heard through random social media encounters that my sister now has 3 children. Tyler is 15, And from what I've seen in accidentally viewed photos, he looks like a typical teenager. I don't know if he's still spoiled and destructive or if he grew out of it. It doesn't matter. He's not my responsibility, and his future isn't my concern. My parents are in their 70s now. I don't know if they're healthy or struggling, happy or regretful. I blocked everyone who might give me updates because I realized that knowing didn't serve me. It only created opportunities for guilt or pressure. Sometimes people say, "Don't you want to know how they are?" And the honest answer is no. They made their choices. I made mine. We're living separate lives, and I'm at peace with that. I've built something beautiful from the rubble of family dysfunction. I have love, success, security, and most importantly, I have myself. I know who I am. I know my worth. I don't need anyone else's validation because I validate myself. The graduation cake that was destroyed 8 years ago has become a symbol in my personal mythology. It represents the moment I stopped accepting crumbs and started demanding the full meal. It represents the moment I chose dignity over approval. It represents the end of one chapter and the beginning of another, better one. And you know what? I never did get to eat that graduation cake. But the life I've built since then has been sweeter than any cake could ever be. I don't hate my family. I don't wish them harm. I simply don't include them in my life, and that's okay. Not every relationship is meant to last forever, even family relationships. Sometimes, the healthiest thing you can do is walk away. To anyone reading this who's struggling with a similar situation, who's wondering if they're wrong to set boundaries with family, who's questioning whether they're being too sensitive or too harsh, I want to tell you this. You are not required to maintain relationships that harm you, regardless of DNA. You are not obligated to accept mistreatment because someone is family. You are allowed to choose peace over chaos, health over toxicity, yourself over their expectations. It won't be easy. People will judge you. They'll call you cold or ungrateful or selfish. They won't understand because they haven't lived your experience, but you don't need them to understand. You just need to know deep in your bones that you deserve better. And you do. You absolutely do. My grandmother knew that. She saw me struggling under the weight of family dysfunction, and she gave me the resources to break free. But more than that, she gave me permission. Permission to value myself. Permission to demand respect. Permission to walk away from people who didn't appreciate me. That permission changed everything. So if you need permission too, here it is. You are allowed to choose yourself. You are allowed to set boundaries. You are allowed to walk away from family members who treat you badly. You are allowed to build a chosen family that actually values you. Your life is yours. Your time is yours. Your energy is yours. Don't waste any of it on people who don't cherish the gift of your presence. I graduated 10 years ago, but in many ways, I graduated from my family 8 years ago when I finally cut them out. Both graduations were hard-earned. Both required sacrifice and determination. Both represent achievements I'm proud of. But the second graduation, the one where I chose myself, was the more important one. Because that's when I finally learned the most valuable lesson of all. I am enough. I have always been enough. And I don't need anyone else to confirm that truth. The graduation cake is long gone. But I'm still here, thriving, happy, free. And that's the best revenge of all, not revenge, really, but vindication. I proved them wrong by succeeding despite them, not because of them. I'm not the daughter who cut off her family over a cake. I'm the woman who finally valued herself enough to demand better. I'm the woman who built a beautiful life from nothing. I'm the woman who turned pain into purpose, rejection into resilience. I'm the woman my grandmother always knew I could be. And that's worth celebrating. No cake required.